Okay, so y'all know The Mask, right? That 1994 Jim Carrey classic. Well, forget that, little pansy. We're talking about the comic. Yeah, before New Line Cinema turned the character into a goofy, more light-hearted guy most people know and love, Dark Horse forged a tale far, far darker. So, over the course of the next several videos, I'm going to go over the first Mask comic run telling the tale of Stanley Ipkiss and his girlfriend Kathy. If you guys end up liking these and want me to cover the other runs of The Mask, like Returns, Strikes Back, and so on, or even just another comic book run you'd like me to cover in the future, let me know in the comments. As always, if you want to know the story before seeing this video, go read it for yourself or even just watch the 94 movie if you're not the reading type. But I'm telling you, the comic is way, way different. So issue 1 opens with Stanley in a pawn shop of some sort completing the purchase of an odd-looking green mask, asking if he can get it in a box to protect it from possible rain. As he heads out to his car, a gang of bikers speed by, splashing his newly washed car with dirty street water. Now here's where we get our first major difference from the 94 film besides the fact that he has a girlfriend. Whereas Carrie Stanley would probably just react with despair and sit and huff on the curb for a moment before moving on with his life, the comics version of him screams obscenities and shakes his fists at the bikers before blaming himself. Unfortunately for him, though, the bikers hurt him and take the time to turn back around and confront him about it. When Stanley's got nothing to say to back himself out of the situation, the bikers proceed to beat the living crap out of him. After that happens, the whole drive home, Ipkiss is fantasizing about different ways to brutalize the gang that just beat him, all the way up to his apartment door. To which then, something happens that, none of the properties outside of the comic has ever made known, and that's the mask speaking without being on somebody. You see, as Stan gets to the door and buzzes it, as it's revealed here soon it's actually Kathy's apartment, the mask pipes up from inside the box, essentially answering his twisted thoughts by saying, "So what are you waiting for? Let's go waste the punks." The mask uses a different word from punks there, but I like having my videos be seen, hence why I always say, go check out the actual material first. Like any sane person, Stan just thinks he's so upset that he's hearing things and tells himself to get a grip, as Kathy greets him at the door simply stating, "Oh, it's you." To which Stan responds, "Nice, Catherine. Real nice." Well, it's not like you've been real nice to me the last few weeks. So from the outset, we now know Stanley in the comics is even worse off than in the film, living with and probably depending on somebody else, that being Kathy. Stanley apologizes, saying he's trying to make amends and that he brought her something. Kathy at first says essentially, "You can't solve problems with gifts," but then gives in and asks what it is, and as she opens it, it reveals the mask. She absolutely loves it, telling Stan she's been wanting it ever since she first saw it, quickly putting it up with a whole other collection of things. Stanley then pulls the pity card, saying, "Well, if you don't want me, at least you'll take my presents." To which Kathy shuts him down, telling him she really does love him, but that he sometimes makes it hard. The objects, quote, "are constants, while he's so moody, always changing." She then, finally, notices his face, which must have taken a powder from the bikers earlier that evening. They continue to talk before, I'm guessing, Stan throws his back out, picking Kathy up, I'm not sure. Anywho, we jump to that night as Stan wakes up and groggily makes his way to the bathroom, and when he turns on the light, he's startled by the mask, now propped up on the toilet lid. He simply assumes Kathy left it there to scare him, and he decides to put it on to scare her. But as he does, it begins to warp its shape to fit his head, and also transforms his blue and white pajamas with white diamonds into a vibrant yellow-orange suit with black and yellow diamonds, and a black tie with some purple patterning to match. And at last, the mask and Stanley Ipkiss are one as he lets out a small, maniacal giggle. From there, he proceeds to head out the bathroom window and down a gutter pipe just outside, all the while Stanley is in awe of this new thing. He slides down the gutter pipe with ease, chuckling and saying, "It's just like the comics," before stopping a moment to possibly contemplate just what all is happening. But he just brushes it off, going back to wondering what other abilities this new mask can bring him. And as he does, a couple guys approach, and one of them mocks him, Stanley laughing to himself, ready to see how the mask may help him defend himself. Now, things might get a little confusing because I will be referring to the mask and Ipkiss as one entity. I'm not really trying all that hard to be like, oh, who's talking here? Because the mask is essentially just helping bring out Stanley's darker side, as it does with every wearer of the mask. Stanley is just such a vindictive and hateful person, it's easy for the mask to go all out, and it's also doing extremely cartoony things along the way, as you'll see more of very soon. Just don't worry about my interchanging of Ipkiss/mask. He proceeds to yell at the man who teased him, goofily shouting, "Son, you don't know what powers you're dealing with. I don't want to have to hurt you." To which the guy invites the challenge. "You leave me no choice," the mask shouts before taking a clock at the man. And of course he reacts cartoonishly like he just punched a brick wall at full force, proceeding to animatedly bounce around and backwards into the street, yelling youches and yows all over, before finally noticing the oncoming car coming straight for him, giving a measly "uh-oh" before he's ran over. The people stop and are getting ready to get out and see if he's okay, before Stanley casually jolts up. "He's fine, let's go." And he exclaims how he knew he had amazing abilities and that he, quote, "must share these powers with mankind, use them to protect and serve others in need. But first..." Cut to later on, and we see the bikers from the beginning of the story all hanging out in their own little abode, when there's a knock at their door. After going to see who it is, the one who answered comes back with a random rich-looking man dressed in a purple suit. The biker announces to his friends that "this fruit here says we're making too much noise." The man then asks the biker if he just called him a fruit, before he rips his fucking face off, revealing the mask, who exclaims, "Well, you're right," before kissing him on the lips and then bashing his head in. Absolute chaos ensues as another one of the bikers tell him that he just made a bad move. He's on Butcher's territory. "So, you're into real estate, eh? Well, here's a couple of acres," the mask taunts as he beats that biker. Next, a huge, muscular, and burly man comes up from behind, but Mask jabs him in the eyes and then proceeds to break his nose with a wrench. Finally, another one of the gang comes up with a large knife, but the mask covers him in gasoline and proceeds to light a match. Catch, Bobo. The mask then materializes an Uzi from thin air. Wonder what this is for. He says before the final gang member, I know I said finally, but I lied, blasts him twice in the chest with a shotgun, leaving a massive hole. Yet the mask still stands, still for a moment, before unleashing the Uzi's firepower, exclaiming, "Now I get it." And with that, Stanley Ipkiss walks away from the now blazing scene, happily saying, "TTFN, and thanks for the beer." So, those of you here from the movie are probably a little scarred right now. Welcome to the club. The movie was my first exposure to just this property in general, so when I first read this, I was absolutely gobsmacked. This is way more violent and messed up than the more fun romp that the '94 classic provided, but it's also why I ended up loving it more than the movie, besides the fact that it came first. Like, I need a comic-accurate remake of The Mask yesterday. But anyways, we're going to put a pin in it right here and pick things up in a part 2, where I'll probably end up covering a couple of issues instead of just the one like I did here, but the script for this is a monster already. Remember to leave a little like and a sub and ring that bell so you're notified when part 2 drops, and in the meantime, discuss in the comments your thoughts on the comic so far, or just the run in general, and be sure to stay weird. Peace.